Retribution, written by Michael Zeroy. You're quite sure? The president of the Chowder Falls National Bank stared unwaveringly at the auditor, his face expressionless. He was a large man whose features and bald head seemed formed out of one solid chunk of stone, unsoftened by the rigidly brushed and trimmed hair at the sides. The neat nameplate on the desk before him said in black and gold letters, Augustus Prescott, President. "Quite sure," said Mr. Tunney, the auditor, matching Prescott's unemotional tone. "Your figures show that something over $40,000 is missing." "Exactly $40,211, said Tunney, as though reading from a balance sheet. Tunney was a crisp, spare man with cool eyes behind rimless glasses. One could not picture him in anything but rimless glasses. There was a silence. When Prescott spoke again, it was with a heavy deliberateness, as though he intended to make absolutely certain of one point before going on to the next. "Your audit also proves that one of our tellers, Robert Dorp, took the money?" "That's right. There's no question about it." "None." "Seems to me," said Prescott, "a difficult thing for an audit to pinpoint the crook. Is that evidence conclusive enough to stand up in a court of law?" "Absolutely." Tunney left his seat alongside Prescott's desk and strode to a long table on which were spread out ledgers, balance sheets, and worksheets. "These figures prove beyond the shadow of a doubt that the shortage originated with Dorp. Any CPA in the country would agree with that. I don't want to prosecute the man unless we're certain. I repeat, this evidence is indisputable." Prescott let out a weighty sigh, crossed the office, and opened the door slightly so that the two men could look out at the banking floor. Dorp was at his cage several windows down, serving a woman depositor, smiling pleasantly. He was tall and lean, with dark hair that held the trace of a curl. "Fine-looking man," said Prescott. "Yes. Attractive to the ladies." Prescott and Tunney exchanged glances. "Too damn attractive," said Prescott. Both men fell silent, wrapped up in their own thoughts. After a while, Tunney asked, "How's your daughter?" "Eh? Oh, coming along, thanks." "She still doesn't realize that you know?" "She doesn't and never will if I can help it. They call me a hard man, Tunney, but I'm soft when it comes to my daughter. I'd never hurt her, and I'd make anyone who tried to hurt her sorry." "I'm sure," said Tunney. "By the way, how did you find out?" "She confided in a girlfriend of hers. The friend thought I ought to know." "I know. You're not one to advertise your feelings," said Tunney. "But I know how you felt. I know that you worship the child." "Don't get me wrong," said Prescott savagely. "I wouldn't stand in her way when the proper time comes, with the proper person. I don't go for this father antagonism towards the lover, and I don't expect her to remain a virgin child forever. But she's barely 16 now, and not ready for life. What happened to her was just a rotten seduction." "Do you think she sees it that way?" "I think she's beginning to feel that. There's a humiliated, shamed look about her. She's hurt. I think she's feeling that she's been used and discarded. You know the romantic illusions of a young girl. Instead of the adoring prince her lover's turned out to be a rutting goat that stayed for a few encounters and has gone looking for other females in heat." Tunney nodded sympathetically. "She'll get over it. Time, you know. At her age it'll leave an emotional scar." Prescott lit a cigar and brooded over the smoke for a while. Then he shook his head, as though to shake the thing from his mind, and inquired of Tunney, "How's the wife?" "Oh, all right, I suppose. She's at her mother's." "Yes, of course." "I don't feel that I want her home just now." "Yes." "Give us both a chance to calm down, you see." "What are your intentions?" "I suppose I'll take her back. I think I can forgive her, in view of her attitude." "Oh?" "Yes. She begged me for another chance." swore this was just a temporary insanity, that the scoundrel was so persuasive that she couldn't help herself. She's considerably younger than I am, of course, and hot-blooded, but she claims she loves me and has never been unfaithful to me before and will never again if I take her back. I see. And how did you find out? I walked in on them. A shock, eh? You can imagine. I'd finished an out-of-town audit unexpectedly soon and decided not to stay away another night. It was a long drive home and well past midnight when I arrived. I didn't want to disturb Anne, so I was quiet. I was about to step through the bedroom door when I realized what kind of sounds I was hearing. I couldn't believe it. I waited, listening to the relentless sounds and to Anne's soft crying, which I hear all too seldom myself. My eyes grew accustomed to the darkness, and the moonlight came through the window. I saw Anne's naked form and glazed eyes and bared teeth. I saw the man's lithe, animal body, and in that instant I admit I envied him his youth and strength. It was only afterwards that I grew furious. I didn't know what to do. I backed away and left. I'd seen the man's face clearly in the moonlight, and I decided I could take measures later. And, of course, I sent packing the next day. And so he remains unaware of your knowledge? Yes. A long silence ensued. Finally, Tunney broke in. What do you intend to do with that whip now? The cat-o'-nine-tails? Keep it as a curio. Tunney grimaced. Nasty-looking thing. You could kill a man with it. Prescott permitted himself a frosty smile. Yes, I could. However, what about your gun? I'm getting rid of that. I won't have any use for it now, any more than you'll have for that whip. In my opinion, said Prescott slowly, it's extremely fortunate that we happened to begin exchanging confidences over a drink. Had we not uncovered the similarity of our situations, one of us would be in trouble now. Yes, an awful trouble. I would hate to be facing a murder charge. It's much better this way. Much better. Do you think he suspects anything? Not a thing. Yes, he's a handsome fella, said Tunney. Real ladies' man. Well, let's get on with it. Prescott took a key from his pocket and unlocked the bottom drawer of the desk. He brought out 2 packages of currency and 2 shiny $half. That adds up to your figure, $20,105 apiece in bills, and a $half apiece to make up the odd dollar. The men pocketed the money. Prescott said, once more, you are positive you set up the audit to prove Dorp guilty beyond a doubt? No loopholes? None whatsoever. These figures are incontestable. Remember my standing. Fine. Prescott puffed at his cigar. Personally, I think he's getting off easy. I think we're being pretty fair. Under the circumstances, I think we're being very fair. Well, might as well call the police. He reached for the phone. A Question of Values. Written by C.L. Sweeney, Jr. I suppose every older man with a young and beautiful wife asks himself these same questions sooner or later. Sooner or later he awakes one morning and sees his wife lying there beside him, sees her young and warm and desirable there in her sleep, and for no reason at all, a little sliver of panic suddenly forces itself into the back of his mind. He hurries into the bathroom, turns on the light, and hopefully examines himself closely in the mirror, searching for a reassurance that is not there. He sees instead a man no longer young, gray flecks in the stubble of beard, white in the hair at temples, and eyes pouched and tired. And then the panic sharpens unreasonably, and the questions begin to flood into his mind. Will a younger man try to take her away from me? Who will he be? What will he look like? What will she do? What will I do? These, and 1,000 others like them. For most men, these questions need never be answered, simply because, like most things we worry about, the event never occurs. For others, like myself, the questions are forced on them and must be met. When the time comes, however, some of them will obviously answer themselves. For example, what will he look like? There was no longer any reason to wonder. He sat across from me now, a young man of about her age, handsome, almost pretty, soft, like his expensively tailored cashmere jacket, soft like the skin on his beautifully tapered hands, strangely out of place here against the worn books and racked guns and roughly hewn logs of my hunting lodge. "Really?" he said petulantly, looking about the room with obvious distaste. "I don't see why you should ask me to drive up to the top of this godforsaken mountain." "I'm sorry," I said, "but I've always found that I can think better, clearer somehow, up here at the lodge. The mountain air, perhaps, the clean scent of the pines. I thought we could make our decisions more intelligently up here than in some crowded bar in the city." Decisions? He flicked at an invisible spot on his cashmere lapel. There was only one decision to be made. That was hers, and she made it. She's leaving you. That's all there appears to be to it. I leaned forward in my chair. But has she really made that decision? I asked him. Does she know you well enough as a man to decide that she can love you better than she has loved me? "I don't follow you," he said, his voice sulky, bored. "I'm suggesting," I said, watching his delicate hands, white against the dark oak of the table, "the possibility that she doesn't really love you. The possibility that she is only temporarily infatuated because you are a rising young concert pianist and she has always loved music. I'm suggesting that perhaps she's in love with your talent, with the artistry of your hands, not with you as a man." His lips curled disdainfully. "That's ridiculous," he said. "Ah," I said, "but how do we know?" "That's one of the questions that must be answered." He looked at his watch and yawned. "Really, if this is all you have to—" "No," I said, "it's not all. There's also the question of what I will do about it." "What you will do about it?" He shrugged. "And what do you think you can do about it?" "The choice is simple," I said. "I can let her go, or I can refuse to give her a divorce and keep her. On the other hand, the decision between these choices is much more difficult. You see, it's not easy to give up the woman you've adored for almost 5 years. He shrugged again and smiled. "I wouldn't know," he said. "No," I agreed, "I suppose you wouldn't. And yet I want you to understand exactly how I feel. Appreciate the importance of this decision to me." I thought for a moment, and then my eyes stopped and steadied on those soft, white, beautiful hands of his. "Yes," I said slowly, "yes, I believe that's it. I believe that losing her would mean as much to me as, say, losing one of those hands would mean to you." He winced involuntarily and pulled his hands back into his lap. I laughed. "I'm sorry if that upset you," I said. "I was only trying to draw a comparison." He cleared his throat. moved uneasily in his chair, and looked at his watch again. "So there you have it," I said, before he had a chance to speak. "She has a question to answer, and I have a question to answer. And yet, oddly enough, neither of us can come to an intelligent decision until we know how your question will be answered." "Question?" I watched him closely. A few tiny beads of perspiration were beginning to form along his brow. "I'm not aware of any question I'm supposed to answer." "Ah," I said, "but don't you see? That's just the point. Of the three of us, you're the only one who has no question to answer. No decision to make. Everything to gain, nothing to lose." "It offends my sense of fairness." He started to get up. "Really?" he said. I stood up with him. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm afraid I've been a poor host, moralizing to you like this, not even offering you a drink." I went to the cupboard and took down 2 glasses. "Surely you'll at least have one with me now before you go." He hesitated for a moment. "All right. Just one," he said. "Just one for the road." "Just one for the road," I agreed, and went to the heavy ring-holt in the floor in front of the fireplace and tried to lift the trapdoor. "I keep my liquor in the little cellar under here," I explained, and pulled on the ring again, tugging at it this time. He had moved over to watch me, and I looked up at him. "I haven't opened it for some time, and it seems to be stuck," I said, apologetically. "Perhaps you'd—" He knelt down and grasped the ring with me, his right hand against my left. "All right," I said. "All together when I give the word." I put my right hand into my hip pocket and removed the steel handcuffs. "Now," I said. He strained upward, and I snapped the cuffs tight, one about his wrist, the other through the ring. Then I stood up. He looked at the cuffs, and then at me, his face suddenly pale. "What is this, a game?" he said tightly. "Are you crazy?" "No," I said, "or at least I'm reasonably sure that I'm not. I'm merely trying to illustrate what I was saying before, that of the three of us, you alone have had no question to answer. You alone have been spared the pain of a decision." I walked to the mantel over the fireplace and took down a heavy hunting knife and balanced the point thoughtfully on the tip of my forefinger. He watched me, fascinated at first, then little sounds like whimpering beginning to come from his throat. I laughed. "Don't worry," I said. "I'm not going to harm you. The decision will be entirely your own." I held the knife out to him, handle first, but he only stared at it, refused to touch it, and so I drove it into the floor beside him, where he could reach it when the time came. "They'll find me here," he said. The whimpering had become more distinct. "They'll miss me. They'll come looking for me." "Yes," I said. "Yes, they'll come looking for you. But in the meantime, you'll have already made your decision. And then perhaps she and I will be able to make ours." I turned my back on him and went to the corner and took the can of kerosene and began to soak the walls, the books, everything. I felt his eyes on me and heard the rising panic in his harsh breathing, but I didn't look at him again until I had tossed a wad of burning rags against one wall and watched the flames leap to the ceiling. I went to the door then, opened it and turned. I saw him through the eddies of smoke on hands and knees, choking, sobbing, frantically digging at the wood about the bolt with the knife. "It's no use," I said. "It's 4-inch oak, and the door has been bolted down." He stopped and looked at me. The sobs were rising to a scream. "Don't leave me! I'll burn! I'll burn!" I shook my head. "Not necessarily," I said. Slowly then his eyes left me and went to the gleaming knife in his left hand, to the white wrist imprisoned by the steel cuff. Finally, realizing, eyes wide with shock, he looked back to me. I bowed slightly. "Your question," I said, and closed the door and got into my car and drove down the mountain to the broad highway leading to the city, never looking back. The end. As somebody once said, the weeds of crime bear bitter fruit. A Question of Values by C.L. Sweeney is copyright 1960 by Flying Eagle Publications, and Retribution by Michael Zuroy is copyright 1961 by Flying Eagle Publications. These stories originally appeared in Manhunt magazine and have been reprinted in the paperback Best of Manhunt Volume 2, edited by Jeff Vorsimer, 2020, Starkhouse Press. Your Shrieker Speaker, Edward E. French. Fiction Fantastique originates in the studios of World Brain Audio, Suite G1. The email address for this program, edwardfrench06@hotmail.com. We're on Instagram at ed.emerson.french. Fiction Fantastique is on YouTube at www.youtube.com/FrenchEdward06. And just as a public service announcement, I would remind you that despite current events to the contrary, crime does not pay. So long from Chatsworth, California, USA.
The final word tonight goes to my auditor, Paul Brodsky, who always says to me when I show him my business deductions at tax time,
"What is this, a game? Are you crazy?"